Hey everyone, Chris Sawyer here. The Varietal Show is back. I am with one of my dearest friends in the wine industry, Heidi Barrett. If you don't know Heidi Barrett, she makes a little bit of wine here in Napa Valley. She's done it for a long time. I won't go into exactly when she started because she looks super young because she goes diving often and drinks fine wine like me. But the fact is, Heidi is a legend in Napa Valley and to all of us. She's got a lot of 100-point scores and whatever that means to whoever. That's an important thing because she just makes great wines. But in one way, and we also judge wine competitions together, and we have a good time doing it.
We do.
But I really wanted to introduce you guys to La Sirena, and this is the brand. And you can see it's got a little mermaid on it. And Heidi, you started this back in 1994, and like I was in the industry barely at that point.
A puppy.
I was a puppy, you had been a puppy the decade before that.
Yep.
Her dad is really one of the greats. Dick Peterson is like one of my favorite guys that's ever existed in the wine industry. Had an amazing daughter. They both fly helicopters, by the way. But this is La Sirena, and it kind of goes back to something that you do, and the mermaid.
Yeah, so La Sirena means the mermaid in both Spanish and Italian. And it's kind of a magical symbol for me, also a personal thing because I love all things to do with the ocean. I'm a longtime scuba diver. We were just talking about this. I actually took it as a college class at UC Davis in 1977. You could actually take scuba diving as a 2-unit class, and I did. So I became a diver then. I've done it my whole life ever since. Love it. Just got back from a trip to Palau, actually, down in South Pacific. It was great. So I took this element of a mermaid and fused it with my other passion, making great wine, and it became the winery brand, La Sirena. So
it's amazing. And this is a Muscat, which is a Moscato, as we'd call it. This is a really great little version from Calistoga, and just right behind us here, which is Lake County too. And we are in Calistoga right now. So this is the area where you go to Napa, but this is the other end of Napa. This is 30 miles due north of Napa. Actually, there is quite the little hook there.
There it is.
Yeah, and Heidi's husband, Bo Barrett, you guys might know Chateau Montelena. Their family founded that. And that's why I remembered that little hook there, because he had to be very clear, Chris. Yes. Right after you go out of St. Helena, there's a hook. And it actually goes completely west.
It does.
It's crazy. You look at it on the map, you just think it's going completely to the east, and it's not at all. It's going this way.
A little bit west.
So this is amazing. You know, Calistoga is a really important place for us. People think about it with, amazing mud baths and springs and all these kinds of things. But warm weather is great. And Muscat is the oldest of what we know for wines in the world. You know, this goes way back thousands and thousands of years ago. And this just tastes so bright and fresh.
Thanks. Yeah, I really love it. I mean, Muscat is such a pretty variety. It's so tropical and perfumey naturally. That's what the grapes smell like and taste like. And I thought, you always see Muscat made into dessert wine, but you don't have to. And that was sort of my challenge, was why can't you just make white wine? And of course you can, and it can be beautiful as a dry white. You get all the perfume and beauty, floral, all those incredible, enticing, aromas. And then in the mouth, you get this crisp, bright, luscious white wine. It's very refreshing. It does taste like spring, summer, that we're coming upon the, opening season for especially these sorts of wines. I have a client or a customer actually in Texas that he calls this his pool wine because he always has to order a case for every pretty regularly actually to drink out by his pool. And it just makes me smile because it's sort of, it is like opening season for these sort of beautiful weather outdoor wines and summer barbecues and all that great stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's so bright and fresh. You and I were just talking about how it kind of reminds us of this family that used to be at this corner down here, Deer Park Road, where when they pick their peaches, they'd come out and you'd have to be there right when they get there, or else you wouldn't get them. And they were white peaches, and they were so, well, at least the ones, they had both.
I know.
But
I like the white
ones, and they were dripping all over you, and they were were so
delicious, so juicy.
Yeah.
This does have a lot of those white peach kind of elements, as well as some floral, sort of jasmine. But white peach lychee, I think, that other tropical fruit you see in Hawaii sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very pretty wine, I think.
It's amazing.
Yeah, thanks.
So, obviously you went to UC Davis, as did I.
Yes.
Go Aggies.
Yes.
I mean, your dad was already a winemaker, but really what inspired you? I mean, there's the part where you kind of go back and you go, I did chemistry okay or whatever. What really made you go like, you know, I want to do what dad did, or I don't, you know, you had a lot of choices. What made you come here?
Had to do a lot of, had a lot of choices, but I really liked, I liked the farming aspect also. I really like taking something that grows from the earth and making this more complex, elevated product out of it. I think that's a really cool thing. There's so much to like about it, obviously. I love the seasonal nature of it, this whole cycle of making wine. That's something that grows every spring. Now we have, you know, bud break and vines are growing like crazy, and then in the fall we have ripe fruit again, and here we have a whole nother chance to make great wine. And then, you know, we go into the winter, we're working on the wines, we have a whole year to, you know, get that done, and we start again. I like the cycle of it, I like the chemistry of it, actually. I love doing blending. Flavor chemistry is fascinating to me. I love how flavors play off of each other. There's a million things to really like about it, as well as, I think for wine too, on the more romance side, it's like a time capsule. I think that's super fun. I think that, you know, any bottle you pick up, it's a little snapshot of what happened in the world that season, and it's preserved. And I really love that about wine as well. So yeah, for me, it was just, I was good at chemistry when I was a kid. I really liked oceanography, but I keep doing that as a hobby, but I earn a living making wine because I love chemistry. I like agriculture, and the whole thing of fermenting things is a blast. I love fermentation. I do like to ferment stuff. So that's pretty
and
fun.
she's good at it, you guys. Don't let it go to her ego. Actually, she's the dearest person there is.
And doing blends is a blast.
But I was talking about actually her flying helicopters, and here we go. Let's fly away. And this is a really good thing you just said about the vintage and how it really expresses something, and it has a lot to do with that specific vintage. This is a Grenache, and I will say one thing about Heidi, among the other things that I will say about her. She loves things other than Cabernet. Cabernet is not all that Napa Valley was and should be. This one vintage, 2020, we had some problems in Northern California in general, and that was fires. And it was not the greatest time for people. Luckily, no one died, but there were hard times here. So what do? If you love Grenache that much? She sourced this from down in Santa Ynez, which is actually last year they celebrated their 40-year anniversary as an appellation. So this is kind of more of a cool climate. It kind of is a little bit more similar to where you get some of your fruit from Bennett Valley over in Sonoma County for the Rhones, and just being a little bit closer to the ocean there. And I love Grenache, and I know that Heidi loves Grenache, so I had to get her to bring out her latest Grenache.
I'm glad.
And this is so good, you guys.
Thank you. Yeah, and it was kind of a bright spot that year that we could actually still make some good, clean wine. Santa Ynez was one of the few areas on the entire West Coast of our country, really, including Oregon, Washington, all through California, that didn't have fires or didn't have smoke damage. And so it was a place we could actually go and buy some fruit and, you know, ship it up and still make some delicious red wine here. I got Grenache from down there, and I bought a little bit of Cab from down there, also under our Aviatrix label, so we would have some red wine to sell in 2020. And they're both really fun. They're both different and beautiful, and I was delighted to have them. So yeah, it's a very zesty sort of variety, I would say. It's very bright, it's exciting to drink, and it has a soft palate feel and still juicy at the same time, where it's kind of enticing. Most people really enjoy Grenache. It's an easy to love variety.
I do too, and you know, earlier we were talking about how Grenache reminds me so much, just the texture of it and the mouthfeel is much more similar to Pinot Noir. It doesn't have the acid, but what I've noticed is this is tightening up a little bit. It's got a little bit more firmness now, and that's a really good thing, because if you just open this at the beginning of dinner and you've got a great salad there, it's going to be perfect. It's going to go with the fruits in the salad, and then it's going to dry out a little bit and go great with that chicken, pork, whatever you want it to go with.
Yeah, exactly. I like the texture is really fun about it. So Yeah, and I think people who, Pinot Noir is so popular and people love that, I think because it's a lighter texture. You don't have to, it's not a big, heavy red. Grenache fits into that same sort of medium, lighter body reds, yet have powerful flavors. This certainly does. I think it's still a pretty exciting wine, but has a softer, a little bit lighter profile that's very easy to approach.
Yeah.
So I think that is kind of its key to being, enjoyable. People
And
really
once
like it.
again, helicopters. What the heck got you into helicopters?
Well, that is actually my exact little helicopter on the label. She has a name. It's a girl. Her name is Bluebell. So she's my lucky charm. Yeah, ours is actually an R44. It's made by Robinson. It's an American helicopter made down in Torrance, California. Is the factory, and it's a 4-seater that I fly to go do vineyard visits and all of that. I've liked them my whole life. I have to say, my dad being a pilot, both fixed wing and helicopters, was my introduction to it, and he took my sister and I as kids into like an Army helicopter, took us for a low flight, which we loved. And then every time I get to go, which is not that often, but like, you do the tourist flight in Hawaii or along a river cruise or something, a river rafting, they flew us out of the Grand Canyon in a helicopter. Love that. But it's the kind of flying you do when you dream, that you can just fly anywhere. If you ever dream that you're flying, it's kind of helicopter flight. Yeah. It's like a magic carpet ride, really, that you can fly very three-dimensional, hovering at 5 feet, and you can fly sideways or backwards. You can just literally park in the sky and have that floating in a bubble feel, as long as, using it for trying to get somewhere and go check vineyards that there's no airport nearby, but you can just literally land out in the vineyard and go check grapes, hop back in, fly to the next place. It's a lot of fun, and it's a hard, steep learning curve to learn how to do it. I wasn't a pilot already when I decided to learn how to do that, but I've loved it my whole life, and something I really wanted to accomplish, and it's one of my proudest moments was being able to fly to work, someday. So a couple of my clients.
Well, if you guys haven't seen it yet, Ann Kramer's, well, actually it's coming up after this. I wanted to do my 150th episode with none other than the great Heidi Barrett, and we worked on it together. Believe me, I had to wait for her to get back from her diving and everything, but that's how much I care about this woman. But Ann Kramer, who's one of the people coming up here, you've flown to her vineyard up in the Sierra foothills, and you landed, and she just loves it so much.
Yeah, it is pretty fun. So yeah.
Now your dad told me one time that it's kind of hard to fly your thing versus what he was used to, the big one. But have you gotten Dad more,
Yeah, I've gotten to fly with him a couple of times. He loves going. He still likes to fly. He doesn't fly himself anymore, but he still enjoys it. Yeah, well, I think he's referring to the little trainer for the R44. It's a little, very squirrely little flying mat. It's called the R22, and it is known to be one of the more difficult ones to fly, but if you can do that, they say literally you can fly anything. It's a lot easier. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
When we talk about other kinds of grape varieties, you've created something here that's really fun. And this is actually, I want to say that one of the reasons I love Heidi so much too is she's an artist. She really is. And like when you think about all the different wineries that she's worked with and consulted for and made 100-point wines for, or just genius wines, there's something about the art of blending. And not only that, but she's also an artist. So this is her newest one. This is a 19 vintage. Tell us a little bit about the studio series.
So the studio series, we started with the 2017, and it was actually my daughter Remy's idea to come up with doing it. I've been painting for years. I love to paint. I love to make wine. Funny thing, those two things can go together. And she noticed, other wineries have had art series, and various painters do beautiful labels for a lot of wineries, really a fun thing. And she thought, wow, why don't we do our own? Mom, you're a painter, your paintings are fun. We could do a whole artist series. And we named it Studio Series. So I do a winemaker blend. That's something that I think is going to be delicious. And then it has features a different one of my paintings each year. And this is the third one. Actually, the third release is the 2019. The other two are also really fun labels. I'm
They
going
are.
to show you those also. We'll bring those out.
Yeah, we'll bring those out.
Yeah, the 17 has a very vivid vineyard painting. Then there's a bottle and some wine glasses. Kind of trying to stick with wine-related themes, but not always. The floral one was just a big burst of life, joy of life sort of things with bold colors. I love that part about painting. And we'll show you these other two as well. The first vintage is this red soil vineyard, which was a really big, like a 3-foot square painting, and then this little wine glasses with a bottle where sort of the wine is sort of flowing out of off the canvas. And we do small giclées of these, so people who love the wine can also buy a reproduction of the painting for their cellars, and so we have those available as well, which is really fun. Yeah. So yeah, it's a project I'm excited about. We have some other paintings lined up. I've been choosing what's going to be for this year, and that's a lot of fun. And my daughter Remy, who came up with the idea, was helping me pick what are we going to go with for the next one. Yeah. So it makes it really fun. Yeah. Yeah.
I got to give a little plug here for the North Coast Wine Challenge too that we judge. Yeah. You know, because you and I get to judge these competitions together, and you know, there's a lot of great wineries out there. But when you are able to back up and just like taste other people's wines and go, God, that's good. How does it feel? You know?
I know. It is exciting. I do. I love that. I think we're kindred spirits on that.
We are.
Still, after all these years, we both still get really fired up about how delicious wine can just be, you know. And so, and you see that when you judge at these wine competitions, or just taste friends' wines that are really good at their job and make something beautiful or something unusual too. I always look for odd varieties that are fun and well made. I think that's one of the most exciting things we come up with.
A couple of years ago, we got to go through Petit Verdot alone. Like, wow, this is kind of crazy. We love the grape, but you don't see it bottled by itself.
No.
And this one, we tasted like six or 5 or 6 of them. Like, whoa, that's wow.
I know. There are some wild things at those judging that makes it a lot of fun.
You are a great blender, and I will say that. And we're going to taste this right now. You know,
thanks.
and tell us a little bit about this 2019. What was in this?
Yeah, so this particular blend has it's predominantly Cab in this one. It's 60% Cab and 36% Syrah. So those are the bulk things, and then the small little spice elements is 2% Petite Syrah and 2% Cab Franc. And what those do is really fill in to make it a really complete, interesting wine. I think Cab Franc is always initial palate, the wow factor. As soon as you put it into your mouth, it's a little explosion of flavor. At the beginning, Petite Syrah is a powerhouse wine. You don't need very much. In this one, again, only 2%, just turns up the volume overall and also extends the length. Cabernet is the whole deal. It can be, you know, the middle and the end all the way through, a very silky, you know, just a beautiful, beautiful variety to work with. One of my favorites, obviously. And it's a fun combination to have the right proportion to get all of those components to just be delicious together. I'm always shooting for delicious. And I think, you know, that's the aim here. And I think I came pretty close on this one.
I got to say, one of the greatest moments I've ever had with you, and I've had a lot, but like when you and me and Leslie Zabraco were at the Culinary Institute of America, and basically Heidi stopped us and told us how our heads are a grid, you guys. So listen to this. So we take our head, we split it in half, and then we take 1 and 2 parts are right here, 3 and 4 are right here, 5 and 6 are here, and then the finish is the other parts. But like you telling us about why Cabernet Franc is so great and how it hits here, and then it's part of the structure in the 5 and 6. What the heck? You know, I mean, this was amazing, and you just did it like boom.
Yeah, it's how I see it. I divide, beginning, middle, and end. Each gets a count of 2. So the beginning is 1, 2, mid palate 3, 4, finish 5, 6, and really Cab Franc is that wow factor 1, 2. Things like Merlot, Syrah are big, fat, fluffy, delicious, 3, 4, 5 sometimes. Cabernet is often
and fluffy.
Big, fat, fluffy. It's a good thing. Technical terms, of course. 3 through 6 really can be Cab. It is helped with a little burst of Cab Franc, I think, up front. You see them can be a complete 1 through 6 with Cab, but it's sometimes nice to plug in other little components that emphasize those numbers just in how it feels in your mouth to make the wine delicious across the board. And that's always what I'm looking for. I want flow like silk, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's kind of how I do it. Plug them into those spots, make sure there's no holes in the product. If you need something more power in the middle, where are you going to get it? Go back to your components, see what if you have any different lots that might be bigger in that area or less so. You can really structure the wine exactly how you want by using that as a tool.
Amazing. You just learned a lot right now, you guys. I hope you appreciate that. I appreciate her. And Heidi, thank you so much for being
You're
here.
welcome.
La Sirena wines, look them up. Buy a ton of them because I love them, and there are no holes in there. They're just all delicious.
I'm also really honored you chose me for the 150th episode. And congratulations
Thank
for
you.
doing that, so well for all these years. So thank you so much.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate you guys. Thank you for joining us on the Varietal Show, and thank you for just being you.
Thank you very much.
Yay.
Appreciate it.
Here, here.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. Cheers.